Welcome to Bougie and Boring, the spa business podcast that proves success doesn't have to be stressful. My name is Amanda Louisa. I'm a spa owner and a coach, and around here, bougie means high-end and well-paid. Boring means drama-free and simple. Together, that's how you build a spa that's smooth, profitable, and actually fun to run. Thank you so much for being here. Let's get right to it. Welcome back to another episode. I'm Amanda, and today I'm going to talk about one of the most common things that I see spa owners do during this really busy season, whether it's the summer for you, if you're a waxing spa, or if it's this Q4 season when things just really pick up for the holidays. I feel like it's really busy for everyone right now because of the holidays, and it does not mean that it's time to panic hire. And it's very common during any busy season for a spa owner to feel like, oh my gosh, it's time to hire. I need to hire right now or I'm going to lose money because you're having to turn people away or because you just can't fit everybody in. And this came to me one day when I just happened to be in the spa. I just happened to be in the spa on a random day. This is, I think a year ago this happened. So keep in mind, I've been in business since 2018. So, gosh, what is that? Like 6 or 7 years now? And so this happened recently, last year, during the last holidays, where basically I was in on a random day and there were so many people that came in the door wanting to buy gift cards, wanting to buy products, asking a question, significant others wanting to get a gift for their partner who was a client of ours. And meanwhile, like my team was booked solid. The door is locked because I choose not to have a front desk, at least not right now. I can totally go into why I don't have that, but that's just my personal philosophy, at least right now. But I don't have a front desk, and the two estheticians that were there and working at the time were in a treatment, and literally as one of them had her hand on the doorknob, she was going into a 90-minute, like she was going to be in that room for at least 90 minutes for all of the services that client was asking for, and someone walked in the door wanting products, and like it was a $500 or $600 thing that someone just walked in and asked for. And I was there, so I took care of her. But if my esthetician, because she didn't see that person walk in, she was walking into the room as that client or that person. I don't think she was a client, at least not at the time. I want to say she actually did become a client after that, but she walked in and she bought hundreds of dollars worth of stuff. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, if I had not been here today, we would have lost. And it wasn't just that one lady. There were two other gals that came in. One was a significant other. It was like the husband of a client of ours. And then the other one was a client wanting to purchase a gift card. It was nearly $1,000 just of like money that was going to be left on the table and falling through the cracks because it was so busy. But the thing is that it's not like that 24/7. And I've gone through the hiring mistake of, oh my gosh, it's so busy right now. We need to hire someone right now, get them trained so that they can see all these clients that we're missing out on. But by the time you realize that it's time to hire, you're usually in it. Like you're usually up to your ankles in the clients, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I should have hired someone months ago. And while yes, you can be strategic and hire ahead of time, I do believe that the best thing to do is to hire during a slow season so that when things pick up, they can just jump right in and you don't lose anything. However, more often than not, when you're in this like panic mode of like, oh my gosh, there's so much being left on the table, there's so much money falling through the cracks, this decision to hire tends to create more financial stress than anything. And you oftentimes, even if let's say you're like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to prepare, I'm going to hire this person, I'm going to get them ready to go, they're going to make it through the busy season, and then the busy season comes, it goes, and it gets quiet again. And that ends up being stressful on your payroll percentages because payroll starts to creep up, and then you have this extra esthetician or this extra, person you need to pay for. And you're like, well, hold on. Like, what happened to all the people that were here? Okay, so it's a cycle. It's something that I have personally experienced. I've watched my clients experience, my coaching clients experience this. And so just to make sure that I am explaining this clearly, basically what's happening is the busy season hits, the calendars are filling up, the fear of money being left on the table starts to creep in. Hiring feels urgent, and then it happens way too fast. Training happens during the busiest time of the year, and then the owner is exhausted and just energetically unavailable after that. The new hire doesn't get set up properly, and by the time that person, that new Esty, is trained and confident and ready, it's no longer the busy season. And now you're on a different hamster wheel of getting that person booked, and it's the slow season. So just know that this is normal, okay? And know that it's not a hiring problem, it's a timing problem. And there are other things that you can do before hiring where money will not be left on the table. Your current team will be so happy that you did this because it's going to give them the opportunity to make more money. And, there are times when you actually do need to hire, and knowing when that is really important. So just take this time, take this as your sign to kind of slow down a little bit and see if you are actually ready to hire. Okay. So here's what I do and what I share with my coaching clients. Okay. So the first thing that I tend to recommend to a coaching client. Now, let's say you come to me, you're expressing this concern. I need to hire. I'm frantic. I'm so busy. I'm up to my eyeballs in clients and I need to hire. If you are the only esthetician and you're up to your eyeballs in clients, yes, you need to hire. Just period. End of story. End of statement. You can't be a full-time esthetician and a full-time business owner and a full-time marketing person and a full-time janitor. Like, you can't do that. And then now you're expected to go home and cook dinner and figure out what we're gonna have for breakfast tomorrow morning. Like, this is just insanity. Okay, you can't do it. Or I mean, maybe you can, but you're gonna burn out real fast. And I'm not in the business of burnout. I'm in the business of ease and clarity and making things luxurious and bougie and making them boring, because boring is not chaotic and I don't like chaos. So here's what the first thing I recommend. Now, this is ideally for someone who has estheticians already. I offer something called a support staff shift for my team to work. So that is a shift during the week, typically on the busiest day or days of the week. So I'll give the example of my team. I have 3 estheticians right now. And so each girl will get a shift, and I do split shifts. So I have an AM and a PM shift that every person gets to work. And so for the AM, so I will figure out what are our busiest days of the week. Now, the town that I live in is a very interesting town. We are it's a town that has a Fortune 50 company in it, and that company is basically people, it's their first and last job is working at this company. It's a very big, robust company that people, have multiple generations of people have been working at this company. Anyways, long story short, they give Fridays off. And so because of that, a lot of people will leave Thursday night for vacation. So Thursdays are our busiest days of the week because of that. Now, oftentimes, people will just take off a Friday, and so they'll want to come in on a Thursday, or Friday itself will be a busy day. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday are the busiest days of the week, and but Thursdays for sure are one of our busiest days of the week. And so I have 3 estheticians, and so I ask them, between the 3 of you, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, each of you gets a shift, and that's going to be your support staff shift. Now, this is the shift that they will work kind of as a front desk, but also as a spa attendant and also as an esthetician. The reason why I chose to do this instead of a front desk is because when someone walks in the door and they're like, hey, I want to get a facial, but I'm not sure which one. Yes, I could train a front desk to do this. However, the esthetician is already trained and they're going to do it so much faster. They're going to be able to answer phone calls and text messages. They're going to be able to follow up and problem solve right then and there. The esthetician is going to be able to recommend products right there to the person. They're just going to be able to do things so much more efficiently than if it was a front desk, which I'm not saying a front desk has a lot of turnover. That could be the case, especially if it's your first time hiring a front desk. But I tend to find that when there is some downtime for that, support staff role, if they're not talking to a client that walked in and supporting that person or that esthetician that is working on a client, then we're just able to get so much more money. Because I did have a front desk at one point, and she ended up, that role ended up losing us money instead of having us get more money. And I think that it is because the esthetician just knows so much more. But not just that, during the downtime, when there's nobody coming in and they're not helping their fellow esthetician turn over the room or check out the client or whatever have you, they're following up with their clients. They're calling their client and asking about if they need to get their products refilled, and we can ship it out to them if they want to take us up on the gift card deal that we do every December. The esthetician who's working that support staff shift will also send out the thank yous. They're able to do, referral follow-ups and help with the cleaning list, which is super important. So they're able to help with cleaning. They're able to help with like room turnover, gift card and retail sales, any walk-ins like the ones that I had mentioned earlier, doing during the week, but they're too busy to do. And the shift is still generating money because they are handling all the people that come in, but they're doing it so much more efficiently. And this is the third thing, they're able to get a little bit of a break. They're able to get a break from from doing the services. And in terms of pay, I offer them the same pay as what they make when they are seeing a client. They don't get tipped, which is kind of difficult also to, if a client doesn't want to do that. If you think about it, they're also not going to get tipped during the hours that they are staying extra or coming in early to do all of their admin work. So that's the first thing that I would recommend instead of hiring like a front desk to miss or to catch any of the walk-ins that are missed during this really busy season. Okay, so now what do you do if you have a lot of clients? You're like, oh my gosh, I have so many clients, I can't fit everybody in, I need to hire. But if you are not consistently, and this is just my philosophy, I know that it is not I know it's not how other people like to run their business or like to recommend, but this has worked really well for us, and I feel like my team loves it because this is just a busy time of year. Your team wants to make more money. They're expecting to make more money because it's just a busy time of year, right? And so what I do is I offer on-call shifts. Now, this is a shift that my esthetician at their own discretion can offer, or they can open up and offer a time slot to a client. There are two caveats. The first one is they can only open up this extra shift that has been agreed upon. It is a day and time that not only that esthetician has agreed to, but all the other estheticians are aware of it so that we know we have the space, capacity. We can get someone scheduled if, like, let's say esthetician 1 is talking to someone on the phone, they notice esthetician 2 opened up their books for their on-call shift. And so they know, oh, I can open this up for this client to book. So what is an on-call shift? So it's an agreed upon shift and it's typically around 5 hours. Now keep in mind, I personally do not let my team see clients hands-on for more than 32, maybe 35 hours a week. Energetically, that is just not sustainable. But I also know in these like 3 to 4 weeks at the end of the year, that's when things really start to pick up. But then they die down tremendously come, end of January, all of Feb and March, right? And so that's when I say take a week off. And just to get realigned with their energy, just to make sure that they're taking care of themselves, because they spend so much time taking care of other people, right? So we got to make sure to take care of our team, right? The moment you start hiring people, it is my belief that that person is now your responsibility, and their well-being and energy is now your responsibility to keep in a good place, whatever is within your power. You know what I mean? If someone comes in a bad mood, you can't do anything about that. But you get what I mean. When you're an esthetician, your number one priority is your client. When you become an employer, your number one priority is now your employees. So I'm always like, yes, you can open up. It is up to them. It is up to their discretion if they want to open up their schedule to see that, more clients. And so if somebody, like, for example, I have one gal that currently is booked. I think it's like 28 or 29 hours a week. And so I told her, like, listen, I'm not allowing you to do more. And she's extremely, like, such a go-getter. She is so good at what she does, and she will go until like her body says, hey, you need to stop. And so now, me being her boss, I'm like, girl, you're gonna burn yourself out. You got to protect your energy. You're not allowed to see clients more than 35 hours hands-on. And this is not as punishment. It is truly because I don't want, like, there is no reason for her to be working so hard only to then have to take a week off and really lose out on money because she worked herself too hard, which can happen and has happened. So I told her, you work 5 days a week, so you can add one person at the beginning of your shift and one person at the end of your shift. And that way she's not working more than the 30. So I think it got her to like 33, 34 hours hands on. And so I'm just making sure that I'm taking care of her, because her number one priority is the clients. She's going to burn herself out if she goes any more than that. Whereas my other two gals, they can absolutely show up for another shift if they want to. They don't have to. That's the thing. The esthetician does not have to agree to this. It's something that you're offering during a really busy season. And it has the caveat that it's only available, like you could only open up the on-call shift when you can't fit someone in for 2 weeks. So they can't get in this week, they can't get in next week, so you can open up your on-call shift tomorrow or in 2 days and offer a time slot to that client to make sure that they still get in. So it's a win for everyone. You as the business owner, and the business, the business makes more revenue. The esthetician takes home more in her paycheck. The client gets in. And then the script that I give my estheticians is to get them rebooked and say, hey, I tend to fill up really fast. And if you have your calendar handy, I would love to get you rescheduled for the next 3 months to make sure that you get a slot that really works well for you, because I love seeing you on my books and I want to make sure that you get a good spot and I really want to see you. So that makes the client feel good, and it gets the esthetician's books filled during a slower season. Also, it really helps with prioritizing the higher quality clients, especially if they do this for the clients that tip really well or fill their cup or just make them feel good in all the ways. Then it is just a really great way to make sure that your team is booked. But they have to know about the script and they have to implement the script. So it is about accountability. So if you have a team and they are not saying these things to the client and getting them booked before they go, then that's a KPI, a key performance indicator. So if they're not doing it, you have to hold them accountable, because that is, if it's not happening, then that could be why your team's not getting booked. Okay. But back to the topic of this podcast episode, which is alternative things to do instead of panic hiring. So how do you know if it actually is time to hire? So let's say you've done all these things that I recommend. The estheticians on your team are already at capacity. You're at capacity. By the way, you need to hire an esthetician. If your team monthly average is 80% or more, 80% booked, I should say. If they're 80% booked or more, then it is time to hire another esthetician. And I recommend doing this during a slow season, right? Because you can do an interview during January or February. You can have them do a mock facial on you, and then you can get them hired in March, get them trained, and then by April, May, things are going to start picking up. It's getting warmer outside, and they will just take off. And it'll be during your busy season, so you'll be able to really easily get them booked. And then as long as they continue that script where they're checking out the client, or the front desk is checking out the client, and they're, well, it would be the esthetician that needs to say it, like, hey, I love seeing you on my books. I would love it if you could get rescheduled for the next 3 months for your next 3 treatments or whatever it is, with facial or Brazilian or whatever. Just because I love seeing you on my books and I want to make sure you get a good spot. And so, I think that is it for this episode. I do have a freebie if you are interested in kind of seeing, I have a unique situation. Is it really time for me to hire, or how would I know? There are a couple other caveats, like is your payroll percentage under 40% every single month? That is really important as well, because if it's not, then that could actually be something else, and you'd want to address that before you hire again, especially because, I could talk about all the other things in depth, but for now, I think you get the gist. This is what I recommend before you hire, and I don't recommend hiring in Q4 just because it is so busy. And you would think, oh, it's busy, they're going to be able to watch and observe and all these things. And yes, that's great. But my team has been with me for years now, and they are still sometimes sitting in on services to hone in on their skills and to make sure that they are doing it to the best of their ability. The learning never ends. So I think it's really important to make sure that the esthetician feels confident, and, you can't do that when you're frantic during Q4. So, or even during June, July, when the waxing is just insanity and it's very fast paced. So that's my 2 cents on that. If you want more information, please feel free to email me or reach out. Just reach out, and I'm happy to help. So check the show notes for any links, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Bye. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If this episode gave you something to think about, please take a minute to leave a review and share with a spa owner friend. If you're ready for more support like this, I have left the link to my free 30-minute discovery call in the show notes below. I would love to learn more about you and your spa and what it is you are trying to accomplish right now in this season of life. Until next week, peace and love, my friend. I'll talk to you later.